Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. Want to start out by mentioning to you that link to my sponsor. I just checked; they do have Ripple and Circle Private Equity on the platform this morning. There wasn't too much left, but there was some. So if that's something you were looking for, it's there. Now, this something Patrick Riley had typed out that I agree with. He said, I've seen a lot of concern about the XRP ledger infrastructure. I'm not at all concerned. The question I have to those who are concerned is, what fundamentally changed? Is XRP no longer the 3 to 5 second settlement token? Is XRP no longer the first DEX? Is XRP adopting broken proof of work, proof of stake tokenomics? Is XRP no longer being adopted by nations? XRP is the sexiest crypto out there. No one should be upset when it has a bad date. It still has everything going for it. And none of that is to mention the name. I mean, to this day, name for me which people around any digital asset have had higher level meetings than Ripple. That would be no one. And their largest asset is XRP, and this idea that somehow they're just gonna let it just go away, let it just can't be sustained. Pure silliness. Now I like what Shannon Thorpe said here too. Current charts for XRP Utility do not exist. In fact, I don't know even who she's talking to. I'm not getting into that, but the point that she's making here is that there are no charts that could or do reflect utility yet. And until you see that part of things turned on, sorry, I'm yawning. Until you see that, all bets are off. That's what I'm here for. Okay. Now, this is an interesting clip from Thinking Crypto's show. This guy is talking about how Congress is thinking post-Bitcoin ETFs.
The big names like BlackRock, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, and many more who got their ETFs approved. And I'm curious, how is this echoing in D.C.? Are members of Congress or other folks now like, whoa, what's going on here? In a positive way, of course. Are you hearing comments around the ETFs?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to steal this from Michael Saylor, but he called it Bitcoin's IPO. And so what it did, it really brought additional legitimacy to so many members who I think just get their information on this industry from headlines, from the media. And so now when they see, all of these headlines like Bitcoin, ETFs, they're live, they were approved, but then they see the names associated, the ones that you listed, BlackRock, Fidelity, Wisdom Tree, Bitwise. They go, whoa, wait a second, what's happening here? Oh, this is legitimate. And I've heard from several members of Congress who know nothing about Bitcoin, blockchain technology, and I'm trying to change that and rectify that. Yeah. And they're like, oh, so I love ETFs. And so now I can have exposure to Bitcoin and I don't have to go through that whole wallet rigmarole and try to figure that out and go on an exchange. But now I can get exposure. That's pretty cool. I've been investing in ETFs for years. And I'm like, okay, but there's light bulbs going off. And so I think the sentiment has been that this is overwhelmingly positive. I know the market hasn't looked great in the last 2 weeks since they went live, but members of Congress for the first time, and the ones I'm referring to are the ones off the the committees we always talk about, the Financial Services Committee, the Act Committee, the ones that are doing this. It's those members on other committees who haven't been paying attention And they've only paid attention when they hear like FTX, or now Elizabeth Warren is saying something. But they like money, and they hear about something.
Nancy Pelosi should start insider trading with the ETFs
that they've invested in forever, and now they've got exposure to this new asset class that people are talking about forever, and now it makes sense to them for the first time. It's not this foreign concept, and it's not complicated, and it's not this new technology. It's something that they know and that they relate to and that they already have experience investing in. And so I think it creates a positive perception, which is, it's the best possible thing. So I think it's honestly doing wonders, and I think we'll see that play out as more legislative debates happen throughout.
All right, that's good news. Look who just popped up. Chris Dixon of ETHGATE fame has written a book called Read, Write, Own. What he should have called it is Own a Monopoly.
Here you go, everyone. Read, Write, Own, available January 30th.
Go and own, read, write, own. And, you know, it's funny. I'm glad you wrote this book. It's kind of like Crypto 101 2024. I think if people ask me what...
We don't have to listen to more of that, but I just wanted to remind you who Chris Dixon was from ETHGATE. He's with Andreessen Horowitz. Chris Dixon is the guy, if you remember, on the 24th, January 24th, 2018, Jay Clayton was speaking at Stanford University. Katie Hawn was right there in the front, in the front, and he was talking. Jay Clayton was talking with Joseph Grunfest. The next day, Jay Clayton goes to Andreessen Horowitz and meets with Chris Dixon and appoints Chris Dixon to head up what would become the venture capital. What was it called? The Venture Capital Working Group. And he would go and get Perkins Coie, their attorney Lowell Ness, Cooley, McDermott, Willenham, Reunion Square, Andreessen Horowitz. They would all work on this thing. I don't know what Katie Hawn's part in it is, but what I do know is that 9 days after the Bill Hinman free pass speech, Katie Hawn shows up at Andreessen Horowitz to work with Chris Dixon. I also know that Chris Dixon was on that list of persons from Enterprise Ethereum Alliance who communicated with Bill Hinman May 2017 to December 2020. This is the Freedom of Information Act request from Empower, which I haven't heard about in a while. We might need to check in. Then Chris Dixon goes on with this guy who was also with Andreessen Horowitz. I'm not sure if he still is. And look who helped him review his book.
So I had like 20 people, really smart people, a lot of them work with me on my team, read it, including like Dan Benet, Tim Roughgarden, and like CS professors, right. Bill Hinman, law experts. And they would give, it was amazing. They gave me like paragraph level comments, right? Like, this doesn't make sense. This is a counter argument.
Because remember, Bill Hinman, after he got Ethereum the free pass and he left, where does he end up? Andreessen Horowitz. And then here's Chris Dixon. I asked Andrew Ross Sorkin, did you ask him about ETHGATE? And you know, the unfortunate thing about all this is I think Chris Dixon's a really smart guy. He's probably a nice guy, but he's never been forced to answer any questions about ETHGATE.
Million questions I have, and I want to get to the book and talk about the book. But before we hit the book, I just want to understand. I think we're all trying to understand what's just happened with the SEC and this Bitcoin ETF, and what it means not just for Bitcoin, but potentially for the Solanas of the world and everything else.
Yeah. So, you know, I think crypto has been a technology that's controversial, and
look, the reason I can't let go of this, folks, is because you've got to understand these people thought they had a free pass for Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that they thought they had slammed the door on the rest of the industry, and they were content to go forward. It wasn't until ETHGATE was stirred up that they came out and started talking about how we need legislation. They didn't give a rat's behind about legislation for about 3 years while they had the Ethereum free pass going on.
I think any institutional
They didn't count on that Ripple lawsuit dropping and ETHGATE being pointed at.
Like the ETF is a good thing, is a net positive. That said, I'm very focused on, and our firm is very focused on investing in entrepreneurs building new utilities, new applications that are used by hundreds of millions and eventually billions of people. So let's focus on financial instruments. But I think it's a net positive. I was going to say,
you separate the idea of crypto money crypto, versus like utility crypto, if you will.
Yeah.
And how much of a future you think money crypto really has?
Well, I think payments, DeFi, Bitcoin, these are all important applications. I view blockchains as an expansive technology. It's a new way to build internet services. Those services can be games.
What's interesting is you notice they're starting to incorporate Solana, and I'll bet you dimes to donuts these major VCs are also up to their eyeballs in Solana. It's almost like they said, wait a minute, this Ethereum thing, this is getting kind of risky from all this ETHGATE stuff. We don't know for sure that the SEC couldn't drop a lawsuit on them, so maybe we need to pivot to a Solana. How's that, folks? These people never give up on making the bank, do they?
Social networks, they can be financial services.
I'll tell you this, it's not a coincidence that all of a sudden everybody's talking about Solana like it's the next best thing.
And so the financial part is important, but I think in a lot of ways it's been overplayed in the discussions. And so one of the things I try to do in my book is describe all of the different expansive use cases for the technology.
So Solana is one of those that actually has a big use case.
Yeah, and on cue, Andrew Ross Sorkin made sure that he tossed Solana up there and make sure everybody knows this is our next Ethereum play.
Ethereum.
Yeah.
A, I'm curious if you think that turns into its own ETF, but B, where you think it really goes.
Yeah, I mean, the specific ETFs, I think that'll play out for a long time. I think there's some discussion of the Ethereum ETF. I mean, I think this technology is
You think, or you're meeting with people behind the scenes?
Well, I think this is the future.
You're meeting with the SEC behind the scenes and having closed-door meetings.
So I think over time you will see greater and greater acceptance of ETFs and other kinds of financial instruments. So, but I think that will take time. And our focus is on investing in early stage entrepreneurs, and we see a lot of innovation.
ETF would never be something you'd look at. It's too far down the road.
For us? No, yeah, we're generally early stage investors. And so we're really looking, we're meeting with entrepreneurs. They have a lot of really interesting ideas. We think this is a really interesting new technology for building new internet services. And so that's kind of our focus. But
can I ask you, talking about investing in early entrepreneurs and different ideas that are coming out of crypto. One big idea, or seemed like a big idea, was NFTs. You own OpenSea.
Yeah.
This is a can of worms right here. Remember Joseph Lubin's Token Foundry? That was the original plan, folks. Is Token Foundry? They were gonna, and these guys they all participated, folks. They were issuing a bunch of Token Foundry's issuing a bunch of tokens. These VCs, I'm not saying any particular one, but they were getting all these tokens before the launch, and then they dumped them on retail, folks. These people made billions of dollars. You think OpenSea and the NFTs weren't about that too?
Hottest thing in the world. Everybody wanted to get themselves a chimp, a monkey, if you remember. And now nobody wants a chimp.
Oh, the cartoon monkeys are not so favorable anymore, huh?
Maybe you think that they do. What happens to that, this idea of tokenizing art?
Yeah. Well, I think that's been the sort of death of NFTs has been exaggerated. So last year there were $8.7 billion, 2023, $8.7 billion in sales of NFTs. And remember, this is a technology that was...
look, just so happens that A16Z is invested in Solana. Go figure.
This was standardized and basically invented in 2020. So it's a very early technology. And I think
the marketing program didn't come out of nowhere.
A lot of technologies, you go through these kind of boom bust cycles. And the other thing I would say is that a lot of people think about NFTs as sort of avatars. In fact, it's a very expansive technology. So for example, you can use NFTs. We see a lot of musicians using NFTs to sell digital merchandise to their audiences and create new income streams. To supplement streaming, which doesn't pay them very well. Right. We see people using NFTs for new social networks, and the advantage there is in existing social networks, you're locked in, and if you build an audience, you can't leave, and if they change the algorithm, you're stuck with it. With social networks built using NFTs, the users have the power to leave. So it's a very broad technology. I think we've only scratched the surface.
Okay, so there's that. Before I go to the next end of the group, I wanted to show you this. Ripple's a gold sponsor at Digital Euro Conference in Frankfurt, February 29th. There it is down there, right there. Okay, now I'm going to go into the group now. You've all probably heard of the YouTube channel Bankless. I think they need to change the name, because this channel has been used to promote Ethereum left and right. And I've told you 1,000 times, when it comes to social media influencers, there are some who just started a channel because they had a passion for something. And then there's some that might be a combination of that and being paid. And then there's some who are a part of the marketing machine. I don't know where Bankless falls, but I do have my bets, because they seem to carry the standard narrative, and they always get the certain people on that go with the narrative. Here they're having Chris Dixon on to talk about his Read, Write, Own book, which should be called Own a Monopoly. But in DAIXRP.com today, I'm going to talk about why they should change the name from Bankless to JP Morgan. Because make no mistake, Bitcoin and Ethereum was a monopoly. This was a monopoly attempt. The whole ETHGATE thing was a monopoly attempt. And I don't even believe you'd be hearing about Solana right now if we had not busted ETHGATE wide open. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. We're going to show you what I believe JP Morgan and friends were all trying to do. And this isn't the first time. Here we go.